Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We've had a 3-week break. I've been pretty busy, and my mum's not been too well, so we've had to juggle a lot round. But she's doing great. She's eating full meals. That's what we want. She's still here, my mum, the fighter. First of all, I just want to say me like pre-eulogy or whatever you want to say. So 3 years ago, when Pat first talked about making a party, what he did say and what I only agreed with and what I've been saying for a bit is voting time. Voting's going to change. People are going to change. Things are going to go differently, more differently than they've ever since Brexit, but than they've ever gone. And that time is now. And as I'm sure Paul is aware, Europe is rising. And Britain is going to be leading the way in that, hopefully. But, you know, voting's going to change, we said. And that's why we started the party. And I'm happy. Even people who I wouldn't be like, I'm not a member of the Workers' Party. I don't support particularly the Workers' Party in anything. But the fact that they're running and taking votes off Labour and Conservative is good for us. The fact there's more independents running across the country is good for us. And it's good for the small person. It's good for the independent man. It's good for the small parties like the National Housing Party. And, you know, we're making an imprint where we go. You know what I mean? People are seeing us and seeing that we're not just here like in the short run. We're here in the long run. You know what I mean? And we say what we're going to do and we do it. And we've ran candidates all across the country, and there's going to be more candidates coming. But this is a time, guys. The general election 2024 is heating up. Even just in my own town of Oldham, there is mega activity around this. Jim McManaman's seat, a safe Labour seat for 40 years, could be up for grabs. The Workers' Party are fielding candidates across the northwest. Angela Rayner's seat, Gorgeous George, has already said the day after he got elected as MP in Rochdale, he's going after Angela Rayner's seat. What has he done last weekend? Gorgeous George were on the streets with the Workers' Party representative, hacking away into the Ashton area. And again, this is good for all independents, good for all small parties, and it is good for everyone. And it's giving Tories, Labour and Lib Dems a big wake-up kick right up the backside, because they're not listening to us, the working class. They just brand us with political correct names, and they're not even for the UK. Since October the 7th, not one stinking MP, councillor or anything has been for the United Kingdom. We're infiltrated. Our politics is infiltrated by foreign governments and things like that. And no one's going to say it's not. Both Labour and the Tories have a group in him called Friends of Israel, influencing our politics from the roots. And we want it out. And I'm sick of it. We want it out. And as we've seen, Nigel Farage is getting things thrown at him. Who do these people think they are? Good job, Big John's on the ball. At the last candidate agent briefing, I told the police I would put somebody on their ass, then make a citizen's arrest and get the police involved. I'm not having anyone bullying me over foreign conflicts and foreign countries in the world. I'm not. It's just not happening. But, you know, we're here tonight. We're going to be talking a bit about the polls, how are Reform doing. There's lots of gossip. As the great Nigel Farage has stepped back in, he wants a Member of Parliament seat in Clacton or Clacton, whatever it's called. He wants to get there. And although he has tried getting a seat 7 times and failed, everyone seems to think that's an issue. But I think that's something that will add to your strength. I'm going to be doing maybe, 7 to 10 elections before I'm a councillor. And that can only increase my strength, increase my fortitude, and get me solidly locked in the ground. And being a councillor, making work from the inside of the council. So, Paul, go ahead. What do you think in his past few weeks?
Well, Aaron Wilson famously said, "A week's a long time in politics," and the last week has been very, very dramatic indeed. Not just in Britain, but across Europe and indeed across the world. Now, let's just get back to the British election. It was a shock when it was called. I don't know why Rishi Sunak called that election for the 4th of July. He had another 6 months left in power. 6 months is a long time. Things can happen. He was down in the polls. The rumour is that he was scared that the Workers' Party were mobilising on the left and Reform were mobilising on the right. Now, the Workers' Party, to be honest, have been quite disappointed because they've only put up 140 candidates across the country. So they're not really standing as a national party. They're standing as a fringe party, and they're going to impact Labour in some key seats. But the impact they should have had is going to be diminished. The fact he could only get 140 candidates suggests to me there's still a party being in formation, and they haven't really got the ground game to make a big impact. Contrast that with Reform. Reform were going nowhere, essentially. They were stuck at 11% in the polls. They would have struggled themselves to get a couple of 100 candidates. And then Farage, out the blue, boom, both from the blue. I'm standing, I'm taking over. And it was like a hand grenade going off. I remember I described the Brexit Party when it took off in 2019 in the European elections like an atom bomb. And now I knew the Brexit Party went from north to first place in 6 weeks. This is going to be more difficult, but it's still a possibility for Farage. Reform have put up now over 600 candidates. So they're serious, standing as a serious national party. Of course, you get 600 candidates from scratch. These aren't former councillors. A lot of these people are not seasoned political campaigners like ourselves. They don't really have developed ideologies. They've just standing out of patriotic duty, you know, or because they're fans of Farage. But of course, Farage does have the People's Army. He does have the inheritance from UKIP, from the Brexit Party, and this is now being shown in Reform. I mean, he claims that over the past 2 weeks, 20,000 people have joined Reform. That's a unique political movement in Britain. It's over 40,000 members now and growing daily. I joined a Facebook group campaigning for Reform, and it was formed by Liz, a lady called Liz, just an ordinary woman, not even a political activist. She's joined Reform. She formed a Facebook group 2 weeks ago. Well, no, actually, it was 8 days ago. She's already got 14,000 members in that group. And I'm just looking at the people involved, are just ordinary people. A lot of them in the 40s, 50s, especially 60s, patriots. But this is quite a tidal wave behind Nigel Farage. And Nigel Farage, as we know, is a unique campaigner. He's got unique charisma, and he created UKIP, really. UKIP was going nowhere till he took the lead. And he got us that referendum vote. I know Boris Johnson jumped on the bandwagon, but it was Farage's campaign. So Farage, he's got form. He's a seasoned campaigner. We all know him. I mean, that Brexit, you know, and the celebrity Get Me Out of the Jungle, if you remember that. He came third in that, but he made a national impact. He's a household name. He is the only political superstar in Britain. I mean, Keir Starmer, every time I see him speak, he seems nervous. He seems uptight. He's got no confidence about him. There's nothing appealing about Keir Starmer. For me, he seems terrified. He gets questioned about anything, and he freezes when he's under pressure. I don't find him an interesting character at all. I know he's from a very left-wing background, Keir Starmer. He's a Trotskyite, a bizarre Trotskyite. He's a Marxist. He's a lefty, but he's masquerading as a Blairite. Blair is really running this campaign. He's just a frontman, but he's not a good frontman. I don't think the Labour have got this real support in the polls that that's being projected. I think it's skin deep. It's very superficial. Yeah, they got the public sector unions behind them. Yeah, they got sort of the ethnic minority votes to a degree, but even that's fractured because of the Muslims. But I speak to people. I mean, I work in a pub, and I said popular pub. I speak to a lot of people. And over the weekend, nobody was saying, before Farage announced that he was getting involved, nobody was interested in this election. It was a bore. Nobody wanted to know. They don't like Sunak. No one believes that Sunak should even be in this election. I mean, he's an Indian. He's a Hindu. He was pushed into the Tory party by rich Indian billionaires who promised to donate to Cameron if they put him up as a candidate. And then he was brought in and they promoted him. He was over-promoted, becoming the Chancellor of the Exchequer. I thought he was out of his depth there. And he got us into recession, essentially. And now he's the leader, but he's not a leader. He's not a leader. He's never won an election. He's never won an election for the leadership. He lost to Liz Truss. And we all know what a farce Liz Truss is. So Sunak and Starmer are pretty awful characters, you know. So Farage is way out in front as the most charismatic leader. But of course, the media now, they're against him. But this is the big joker in the pack, John. This is what could unsettle everyone. Social media. It's making an impact in this election, and they can't control it. The establishment cannot control the narrative anymore, and Farage is making huge gains on the social media. He's got a massive following. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And this could really turn this election. So I think this election is up for grabs. I don't think nothing is set in stone here. And I think, you know, people are saying, oh, so far, I think they've got about 18% in the poll reform, but that's probably underestimating them. They could overtake the Tories, and that means the Tories are redundant. I mean, the Tories got their strongholds, but essentially they're redundant as a party of government, and they can target Labour because, as I say, Labour's support is wafer thin. It's very superficial. They can target Labour, and you know, we're only halfway through this campaign. Anything can happen. What do you think, Ragz? Are you still there?
I agree with most of everything you said there. I do think that, as you said, he's a Blair puppet. He's on Blair's strings. He is working him like Pinocchio. It's very much like the other side of the Atlantic, where you have Joe Biden there, and we all know who's pulling his strings. Barack Obama. Remember when Barack Obama said, "If I could run the country for a third term from the basement in the sweat, and just talk to somebody and have them with an earpiece in," you know. And then what happened? You had Biden standing on stage trying to debate Trump, and they were checking him for earpieces because they check he wasn't getting fed his information. The elections in Europe were about smash in the face. But he was talking about today, Pains are now taking this massive step right. Britain seems to be taking another step left, because we're going to end up.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, there's a lot of independence. There's Ireland this week in their elections. Sinn Féin got dropped on their backside because of all of the open borders, voting for immigrants. You know, there's supposed to be 37,000 Ukrainians in Ireland as refugees at the minute. Now, my understanding of the law is, as soon as your country's safe to go back to, you go back to it. So you're just being looked after by the Irish population until your homeland is safe. No, they're getting disability allowance, they're getting that, and the other. And they're also getting the right to vote. And you have NGOs going down into the 10th city in Dublin with paperwork showing them how to vote.
Ragz are complaining about your sound. It's not high enough, and I have got it on highest level on the thing. But so
is that better?
Go on.
Is that better?
Yeah. Sinn Féin took a beating, didn't they? And
Sinn Féin are traitors. Sinn Féin are traitors. Sinn Féin are traitors. That's what they were singing in Dublin. I mean, Sinn Féin were exposed as a globalist party. They were in a very strong position, Sinn Féin, and they threw it away by being a pro-immigration party, pro-open borders party, a woke party pushing the transgenderism. They even advocated for abortion, didn't they? They turned their back on their whole Irish heritage. So Sinn Féin were humiliated in these elections, and it's been the independents, as you say, Ragz. They've made an impact. But what was weird in these Irish local elections, not the European, but in the local, is that all these immigrants coming in, illegal immigrants from all over the world, were allowed to vote. And their vote counted in a lot of constituencies. What happened was the NGOs, as you said, the globalists, actually bust them in to the polling stations. And they turned the vote. They were all told how to vote. And this is just nonsense. This is not democracy. This is gerrymandering. This is totally phony. And so. But I think in Ireland, though, there is obviously an uprising. But what really matters is France. What's happening in France? Marine Le Pen, the National Rally, they won the election by over 30% of the vote. They won the bulk of the seats in the European Parliament, and that has transformed France. And then President Macron pulled the rabbit out the hat and said, I'm calling an immediate election. And their election is taking place in 3 weeks' time. So in 3 weeks, you've got to pick candidates, you've got to get them registered, and you've got to get them standing, and you've got to get them in position. It's absolute madness. But the National Rally are way out in front in the polls, and Macron's party is way down. It's only on 13%. It's become really a defeated party. So if Marine Le Pen can't win this time, she'll never win, because she is basically shoo-in, and this is going to send shockwaves through Europe. This transforms Europe. And on top of that, in Germany, the Scholz and the Greens in Germany did everything to destroy the AfD, everything. I mean, they criminalized them, they arrested the leaders, they put them on trial, they tried to cut off their funds, they intimidated their candidates, they intimidated the public, they had a national press campaign against them, and AfD finished second. They beat the Social Democrats, the government, they beat the Greens, and because they have this stronghold in East Germany, the AfD came second. And this has really created turbulence in Germany. You see, they think, that Keir Starmer wants to take us back into the EU, and as the left are saying, we've got to rejoin the EU, look at the mistake we've made. The truth is, the EU is imploding from within. The EU was based on two things: the strength of the German economy, which is now weakened. The strength of the German economy was largely based on cheap Russian gas, which the Americans have cut off. You see, historically, there was always a strong. When Germany and Russia come together, they're formidable, and they undermine the Anglo-Saxon world. This happened in 1939 with the Nazi-Soviet pact, and Stalin said in 1940, if Germany and Soviet Union stick together, they'll be invincible, and that was true in Europe. If Germany and Russia were together, they were invincible. But America has separated them, as they like to do. France is imploding because of Macron. And, what is really weird is what's happened in France. The Muslims won't vote for the established left in France anymore, because they say it's gay. They say Macron's party is a gay party. So the Muslims, they're going their own way now. They're strong enough to say, we reject the left. So this is causing real sort of divisions in Europe. It's undermining the strength of the left. So everything's up in the air. We're in a totally different period, and it's happening now. We've got an election in Britain on the 4th of July. We've got an election in France at the end of June. We've got the build-up to the US presidential election with Trump. Even though they're doing all this lawfare against them, still in a strong position. The overall impact of this is that the left-wing establishment, which has taken control of the world, is now really struggling to keep its grip, because it's not doing a good job. Behind all this, the shadow, we've got the defeat of the Ukrainians by the Russian army, and the the recession that's down the line because of these high interest rates. These two dark clouds are moving in, and the left feeling weak and vulnerable. Right at the beginning of this, it looks like politics are going to change for the good over the next few months. John?
Well, let's get back to Ragz. We missed the first part because it was silent. But you know, like in your area, Ragz, have you got a good choice of candidates to vote?
Well, we have the same candidates as we always have. We have SDLP, we have Sinn Féin, we have DUV, DUP, UUP. That's Traditional Unionist Voice. That's the Democratic Unionist Party. That's the Ulster Unionist Party, and just the norms. So we don't get to vote in Conservatives or Labour or Lib Dems or anything like that. The Alliance would probably be the closest to Lib Dems that we have. The Green Party is all a Green Party. Green Party in Scotland is the same as the Green Party in England, Wales, and Ireland. They're green on the outside and red communist on the inside. But there was a guy who had been here as a refugee for 3 years from Africa, and he got voted in Limerick for some reason. I don't know what's gone wrong in the water in Limerick, but the last one they voted in was a Pakistani guy that couldn't speak a word of English and had to have a translator, and called for all Irish nationalists to be shot. I quote, he called for all nationalists to be shot. And then up in Londonderry there, the city, the maiden city, a woman that has been here for 14 years from Africa was voted in as Lord Mayor, pushed in by the Liberals and backed by Sinn Féin. That's just to rub unionist noses on it. And it turns out then when they dug into her background, her brother is a multimillionaire in their home country and a director in some company. But she's here as a refugee.
No way. That. I can't believe that's happened in Ireland. But there's people like that rising up here. Let me just interrupt. So I just want people to know we're coming up with an idea for 27th of July in London to do with the homeless. Our mate in Bristol, Darren, wants to do something. So I'm going to be pushing and I'm looking for donations. I'll give you a bit more brief on what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. Well, I've already just seen it today. Pat's okayed it, and we want to get involved in helping Darren. So please donate. We're going to do something for the homeless in the London area. Obviously, many of you know I were at the PTSD camp for a couple of weeks while we did the Big Brother event. And we're looking for contestants for next year's Big Brother. And let me just tell you some of the people we're going to have there. We're going to have Piers Corbyn for sure is going to be there. We've got possibly, I think we've got Matt Hoy, UB40, the one who didn't have the jab and got kicked off the band. And we're working on other guests, but it's going to be a proper Big Brother. You won't be able to lounge around and sunbathe. You might be freezing or hungry, and you got to do it, and it's going to be for charity, obviously, for veterans. But if we get some media presence, then it's going to be good for us overall. And I'll be able to plug the party on mainstream media. So that's what we're hoping for. Timmy Bobbinson, my number is on the screen. Will you please text me, please? So I've got your details. Timmy Bobbinson, please. I want to text within the next 5 minutes, please, mate. 100%. I want your number. And if you'll pass your number on to Darren Edmondson as well, please, Timmy. 100%. I want it done now, Timmy, please. I don't want to... Thank you very much, Timmy. Thank you. And so, yeah, that's up and coming. So we had a good Big Brother. It was very active at the camp. If you're interested, on the 3rd and 4th of August, we're having like a family weekend at the camp. So we've got a couple of tents, but you'll probably have to bring a tent. But there's going to be a lot of stuff on for kids, and we're going to do loads of games and stuff like that at the camp. And that's the 3rd and 4th of August. Anyone's invited down. Just come down. Contact me or Darren Edmondson, but you can come to the camp. And there will be an address out, and I do show this on the Late Night Veteran Show on a Friday at 9. But
I've been invited to 3 different events.
John, this is politics. I will get a burner. Nothing. I don't know what that means. But anyway, contact us, Timmy. Yeah, because we definitely want you to come to camp. And like we said, we started that reboot program, but we want to do other programs later on in the year. And the one I'm looking at doing is with Mike and Victoria to do with alcohol abuse and drug abuse. So, and these are only skills that I can use. These are skills I can use as a local counsellor. So, all right, no worry. We'll get in contact with somehow. Can you email me? Email me then. Please email me. At least email me.
John, have you a Telegram chat?
Pardon?
Telegram group. Have you started a Telegram group yet?
We have with National Housing Party, yeah. It should be.
Really
it should be in our description. All right, Timmy, no worries. Please, mate, I just want to get some kind of contact, whether it be phone or email or whatever. Please, pal, thank you. Yeah, we do have a Telegram at Junglist 40, National Housing Party, United Kingdom on Telegram. And just message me wherever you can, Timmy. But yeah, so that's all I've been doing past couple of weeks. I've got some things up and coming, but we're back tonight. And I'm just happy, me, that so many people are involved. Whether you like Nigel Farage or not, he's causing a big shockwave through British politics. Whether you like George Galloway and the Workers' Party or not, they're causing a big shockwave through North Manchester. You just heard us talking about it's going after seats. He might not be running on as many in this general election, but he's firmly putting in place and getting a foothold in UK politics with that party. We know it's to do with Israel and Palestine. I'm just bothered about the politics side of it. And the more that other people get involved, whether you're independent, different party, whatever party, then it can only go better for us overall in the UK. And we can get what we want and we can become more active in our political scene. That's all I can see with all this going on. Whether you hate this person, you like this person, you don't like this person, you don't like this conflict, it's all adding to putting shockwave through British politics, and it's going to be changing it for the last. And we said that 3 years ago, me and Pat, and I've been saying it for about 5. Of our meetings, I'm not sure, Gerald, none as far as I know. Yes, they will. They are scared, Chris Bateman. They are scared. But we've got a lot of work to do still. I've got a campaign in the Wirral at the moment that we're working on. Got some more leaflets to do. Got a few helpers. Going to be getting down there next couple of weeks. And obviously, Pat's busy in central London and outer London. So it's looking like next election, Pat possibly have 5 or 6 candidates down in that area. So we're going to need help in the London borough areas. But we will let you know. We're looking like we had on the other night, we had Peter Lawrence on running as an independent down in Cornwall. But it's looking like Peter's going to be joining the party. He is running as a member of parliament before we met him. And that's his position that he's going in now. So good stuff from down there. And hopefully when we get Peter on board, we'll be like UK-wide. We've got some work to do in Scotland. Davy and Caroline, they got in a bit of trouble through doing paedophile hunting and stings and stuff like that. and got some. They had to go to court, but they just got home bail things. They can't go out and attack here and there. But for now, but I will be going up to Scotland, working with Davey and Caroline, and hopefully get Davey fired off next couple of years into running elections in Scotland, which are a bit more complicated than here. But he's eager, and I think he's happy. He wants to get more involved. So that'll be up and coming. But yeah, getting back to this now. So, it's great on social media. As Paul says, a big thing of this election is social media, and Reform are absolutely smashing it. Labour have been a bit late getting onto TikTok and some platforms, but I got a letter the other day off Deborah Abrams begging me to sign up for a postal vote. And in her constituency, there's probably about 90,000 people. And if they're not all on postal votes, you can say at least 50,000 of them are not on postal votes. The resources to send them a letter to everyone's house, a colour printed letter with a picture on, is absolutely unbelievable. The kind of resources used for that. And, some of that, I'll tell you right now, and I'll tell you I'm straight, and I don't care what anyone says. I think most people agree with me. Labour and the Tories, I bet a big part of their funding comes from abroad, or people linked to abroad, like the Middle East Forum and all that. I want the National Housing Party to be a UK-funded party. I don't want foreign influence in our politics. It scares me, yeah, and it makes me angry. It scares me because we're going to all these wars. Look what's happening now since we invaded Iraq, and we took down Gaddafi as well. Look what's happened. We're being invaded. An invasion with no weapons, like they say. So yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry at that, but we've got to keep going. And keep plugging on. But I'm not a big fan of Reform. They're pro-Ukraine and all that, but again, they're making shockwaves in British politics. And whereas all the lefties are calling them racist, there's a very prominent Indian guy in London running as one of their candidates who went on hunger strike for a week over ULEZ and has been campaigning with the ULEZ people all for the past year, and he's running as a candidate, and he speaks broken English. Yeah, that party get called all the time, and our party will get called, but they never mention that there is lots of people who agree with us, whoever ethnicity or race they are. They agree with 90% of our stuff we say on our leaflets. So ongoing, we're going to get there, guys. We are going to get there. So my email's up and stuff like that. Donation link up on. Please donate if you can. Please share the stream as well. Just spend 5 minutes now, guys, sharing the stream for us, please. There's only 36 watching, and I thought I did a big share tonight, but and I think I did see James Goddard. Hope you're all right, mate. Missed you, Timmy. I want to see you in real, Timmy. I really do. It's been a long time coming, Timmy, and you've followed. We've been in each other's chat definitely for about 4 or 5 years. So I'll be looking forward to meeting you. But go ahead, Paul. What else do you think? Tell me about, Paul. What do you think of?
Well, I'll tell you what I do think, John. First of all, we've got to turn our fire on the Labour Party. We've got to reduce their lead in the polls. And I think it could, as I say, I think it's very vulnerable, their lead. The Labour Party, what will the Labour government mean? It will mean, as you just said before, more wars. Labour are a party of international global wars, not to promote Britain, not for our advantage, but for their globalist funders. And, we know they went into Iraq looking for these bogus weapons of mass destruction. We know Labour, gung-ho for the war in Ukraine. And worst of all, Keir Starmer gave the green light for the Israeli army to attack the Palestinian people in the Gaza. And that has been absolute carnage down there. So it's an absolute disgrace what the Labour Party actually represents. There'll be more wars. There'll be more taxes. Labour are a party of high taxes. They always raise taxes. And the rumour is the tax they're going to raise this time is going to be the council tax. What they're going to do for people who live in houses over 400,000, they're going to hit them with huge bills. And this is going to be really draconian. It's going to hit people hard. On top of that, Labour are going to raid the pension funds. And remember Gordon Brown raiding the pension funds last time. But people who've saved up for the pensions, they're going to be hit by big taxes from Labour. This is how they're going to raise money. And so it's going to be very difficult for a lot of people once Labour get into power. More wars, more taxes, and above all else, more immigration. I mean, they opened the floodgates. It was Blair who took immigration from 50,000 per annum, which it was under the Major government, to over 500,000 per annum. He increased immigration tenfold. Now, the Tories came into power in 2010, promising to cut it down to the tens of thousands, but it's actually doubled to over 1 million. So the Tories have failed abysmally to stop the immigration invasion, and it is an invasion now. I mean, my local MP and all the MPs in Liverpool, Labour MPs, are saying refugees are welcome here. There's no houses. There's no homes to put them in. There's no homes for British people. What are they talking about? What do you mean they're welcome here? They're welcoming the whole world to invade us. The days ago, as Nigel Farage said yesterday, we're skint. You know, the cupboard's bare again. I mean, when Labour came to power in 1997, they inherited a golden economy. This time, they're going to inherit a disaster. And yet they still want to invite more people in. We need to really stop this immigrant invasion, full stop. And no more permanent settlement immigration, no more refugees. That's the policy of the National Housing Party. Reform, don't go the whole hog, because obviously they're still playing the media. Reform have got to be diplomatic. You know, you're in a politically correct environment. To get access to the media, the sort of access that Nigel Farage has managed to achieve, to a degree, you've got to play their game. But I think most of the Reform supporters, and I'm on all their platforms now, they want a complete halt to immigration, as do their candidates. So this is their spirit. What's important about Farage is that he's really energized the right of politics in Britain. People are speaking out now with boldness, and he's got people mobilized. He's got people engaged in politics again. It's great to see all these pictures of people posting reform leaflets or, I mean, joining a political party again. He's got the people armies mobilized. Now, this has got to go beyond this election. And we're seeing, actually, if Marine Le Pen gets in France, Europe's changing dramatically because we've got no option now. This invasion is just going to continue ad nauseum, get worse and worse, putting more and more pressure on us all, on our services, on our taxes, on our homes. It's going to be a disaster unless we stop it. And it's only we, the people, who stop it. The globalists who've been put into power by the WEF, the World Economic Forum, the Joe Bidens, the Trudeau's, Justin Trudeau's, the Rishi Sunak's, Keir Starmer. I think there's actually an agreement between Sunak and Starmer to pass over the baton. I mean, he's just another WEF appointee. And Macron, especially in France, Scholz in Germany, none of them stand up for their countries. None of them stand up for their people. None of them stand up for their nations. None of them believe in strong borders. They're all sellouts. They're all phonies. But it's coming to peak now. Either we stop it or we sink. Things are getting bad in the West. People have lost their confidence. To regain our strength, we need new leadership. We need a new ruling class. And that, in a sense, is what reform represents. It's a complete change of the guard. Everyone, I mean, this is not our platform, but for me, everyone should get behind reform because they're going to crack the Lib Lab con. They're going to open the way for populist politics in Britain, for nationalist politics to re-emerge, not since the BNP way back in 2009, which is, 15 years ago. Have you seen it? We had the referendum, but I'm talking about a much broader populist party, a populist party that can actually challenge the government. I mean, UKIP sold the goat in 2015 when Cameron bought them with an offer of a referendum. But we need to change the goat. We can't have faith in the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party now are saying much better things than in the past. But in power, they haven't done anything. They've just like deceived the British people to think that they're going to stand up for us, and they haven't. They've done the dirty work of the globalists every time. We need a clean break from Brexit. We need a complete break. We need to get out to the European Court of Human Rights, because they will block any attempt to stop illegal immigration. But beyond that, and this is what this party really stands for, we've got to get out of the 1951 Convention on Refugees from the United Nations. That convention allows anybody to cross our border who simply says they're a refugee. It gives people, international smugglers, greater rights than the British people to defend their land. We have to say, we've got to put ourselves first again. We've got to put up the borders, strong borders. This is the point. That's why reform are important, because they're pushing us in the right direction. I am 100% behind reform in this election. I will vote for them, and I encourage everybody else to vote for them, because we need this change. And I know a lot of people have got involved. You can get involved as much as you can, because our ideal scenario is that you reform, move above the Tories, which makes the Tories irrelevant, and then they start eat into the Labour vote and really challenge for power. Over the next 4 weeks, this is going to be really dramatic. But we've seen what Marine Le Pen's achieved in France. France has got such a crucial election in 3 weeks. Our election in 4 weeks is just as crucial. We need now to make things happen. Yeah, I should be on the debate stage, but, we're excluded. We're excluded because we speak the truth. As I said earlier, Nigel Farage, he plays the game. You got to play the game or they won't let you in the game. But the thing is, we've got to change the game. And we still have a democracy in this country. People underestimate the importance of voting in democracy. We can still change things if we exercise our power. This is what reform has given us. It's just given us something to congregate around, something to get behind, something to form the People's Party, and then get out and vote. Get out and vote, the People's Army. Get out and vote. Encourage everyone else to vote. Voting counts. The people in power count. They can transform situations. We've got to get it. We've got to get energized. We've got to get politicized. And we've got to make an impact, because it's 1 minute to midnight. This may well be our last chance. Britain, wake up. Join the People's Revolution. Get behind Farage. Whatever you think of him, he's a catalyst for change. He's a charismatic figure. I support him 100% because the establishment oppose him 100%. So let's get going, guys. Ragz, you still there?
Oh, I'm still here.
Just killed him. Ragz, just give us when are we going on your stream again after the election? What date we're at?
Oh, crap. Don't ask the question.
Sorry. I want to get it. So just hold on. We're at 7th. We're at the 7th of July. Sunday, the 7th of July.
Black Pigeon told this Sunday, and I think it was a Sunday after.
Right. I thought it was 7th.
And Dublin. Are you sure? I'll double check and then I'll message you.
Yeah, the 4th is a Thursday, and then the 7th is on the Sunday.
Right.
Yeah. Speak up a bit.
It could be the 7th. There's all the dates, you see. I just do up the YouTube links for them and stuff.
Yeah.
I just put them up on YouTube. I have a calendar which I write them down on, but I never have the calendar with me. On what Paul was saying, like, I don't agree with everything Farage says. I don't agree with everything Donald Trump says. But British politics, to me, is you have the British Freedom Party, you have Britain First, you have British Housing Party, you have all these different wee fringe parties. together as one big party, but they can't because there's so many divisive characters in these different parties. I'm not saying Big John's divisive, but a lot of them are what do you call it, Jada Franson and your man Paul Golding, things like that there. They're always at each other. And you can't come together if you're at each other. If you all came together and won a massive election and took the country back and done what you said you were going to do, you could go your separate ways after that. There's one that somebody questioned Nigel Farage during the week on about if they got into power, would they start deporting illegal and people that shouldn't be here. And he refused to answer. He just ghosted the question. You know, apparently, according to government figures, there's over 2 million illegal immigrants living in Britain at the minute that they know of in the black economy. You know, stitching 90 teachers together in some back alley. Some guys went down the street with a camera and showed it looked like a derelict. It just like something after a nuclear war. Everything was boarded up and everything was shut down and this and that. And you could hear the noise. There were machines going in the background. They're sitting in there with sewing machines, putting leggies together, putting all this forgery gear together, and then taking it to the market and selling it. They're working for, what is it, £2.60 an hour. And that's the black economy in Britain. Get rid of that. Nigel Farage never mentions that. Yeah. They also said during the referendum on leaving, one of his quotes was, and I do quote, when we leave the EU, we can import more doctors from Africa and medical staff. Now, there was a case there a couple of months ago that somebody had put out a call in Africa for nurses and care staff. The Africans then went to a guy who was organising this, and he filled in the forms for them, and they're all forged medical documents. 18,000 of them.
Yeah, Nigerians, weren't they?
Yeah, 6,000 state registered nurses that had no training whatsoever in medical care got jobs in the NHS.
They're still struggling with your sound. I don't know why, but they're still struggling.
Very subdued, the sound. What I would say, like, you can criticise, you can nitpick with Nigel Farage, but for me, that's irrelevant because what matters is his impact on the political scene at this moment. We're in a small window here. The window's only going to be open for 4 weeks. In those 4 weeks, we've got to make an impact. The only way we can make an impact in this general election is to vote for reform, is to back Nigel Farage. There's no alternative. You talk about the smaller parties that are relevant in this election. You know, I remember in 1967 when the National Front was formed, it was like a coalition of smaller nationalist parties. I remember when the BNP came to life in 2001 and 2002. Again, people come together. But I mean, that is a possibility. It can happen in the future, but it's not relevant in this election. In this election, we've got to turn all our fire on Labour and realise if Labour get in power, they're going to take our liberty away. They'll do everything they can to criminalise independent voices. I mean, I was arrested during the last Labour government. You know, I'm taken to court. They brought in all sorts of hate speech legislation, and they put it into practice. They made the police a political police force, and they will do that. I mean, this Yvette Cooper is an absolute, you know, and she'll set the police on any dissenting voices. What we see in America now, where the Democrats are engaged in this, you know, criminalizing Republicans, criminalizing dissent, the lawfare they're using against Trump. Labour, once they take control of the state, and effectively they already have control of the state. We've heard a lot recently about the Home Office. The Home Office now is a mixture of Africans and Muslims. And the so left wing, it's absurd. If Labour get in, the Home Office will be used to destroy Britain. Labour will use any power they get to destroy what is left of the British Constitution, what is left of British traditions, what is left of the British people. The replacement of the British people will be turbocharged. Labour will double immigration again from 1 million to 2 million. They'll bring in people from the Middle East, from Southern Asia, from Africa. They'll bring them in. They'll bring them in by the plane load and a boatload. You won't have people coming across the channel in dinghies because Labour will be bringing them in on the trains by the train load. And there's nowhere to put them. There's no money. There's no jobs that they need to fulfill. They're just coming in to replace us and to be the Labour bloc vote of the future. Labour are totally committed to the destruction of Britain. And this is going to be the last election where we get a chance to stop them. And the only way we can stop them, and the Tories will not stop them, is the Reform Party. Go on, Rags, what do you want to say?
So I totally agree, because that's their agenda. It seems to be like agenda for 2040, which was actually signed up to by the Tories, not the Labour Party. Agenda 2040. It's the UN immigration replacement agenda, because white nations aren't having enough babies. They're going to replace them with Africans and Middle Easterns and whoever else they can find. It's literally painted as the black and white as dark online, because we're not having enough babies. But what's the reason we're not having enough babies? Because we've driven house prices up that much. They have driven the house cost of living up that much, but people can't afford to have children. Over here, it used to be 14, 15 kids per family. Then 15, 15 kids have had more 14 or 15 kids per family. And then it went down in the 60s and 70s and all to like 4 or 5 kids. That's still sustainable. Now it's 2.1 or something here.
No, it's way less than that. It's under 1 now, Rags. And it's not driven by economics. This was all deliberate policy. This is driven by ideology. Before the Great Replacement was the Great Sterilization, was a campaign which started in America by the Zionists over there to get Americans to have less children, to reduce the size of the family, to make our nation sterile. This is the point. You make a nation sterile, it can't defend itself in the future. It has no future. I mean, the thing about Macron, and, I think one of the Keir Starmer's kids is transgender. I mean, this is something else they'll push. Even if you have kids, they'll warp your kids in school because they control education. We've got to get control of the ideology again. But to do any of that, you need political power, you need political clout, because they will use the power of the state. They already control the media, the education system, the health service. This is what you're going to find, is that these groups are now being mobilized behind Labour to bring about a Labour government. It's only the British people, the People's Army, a populist voice that can stop them. That's why reform is so important. It's absolutely futile to criticise anything that Farage says at the moment. We should be 100% behind him, and all our weapons, all our fire should be targeted at Labour, because Labour are going to take our liberty, they're going to take our nation, they're going to take our resources, they're going to take our freedom, and they're even going to take maybe our lives, because they're going to be committed to war. The Labour Party, if we get another Labour government, it'll be an absolute disaster. People talk, well, in 5 years' time, Labour will have made such a mess of it, will be a great opportunity. In 5 years' time, we could be decimated as a nation. These people are moving at speed now. Go on, Rags. Go on.
I heard about it. Somebody sent me a video, and it was Andrew Bridget. And Andrew Bridget says the reason why
Andrew Bridget.
Andrew Bridget for an election so early is because we're already in World War III. We don't know it yet. He said Sunak doesn't want to be a wartime prime minister, so he's jumping ship with his green card off to California. Basically, that's what he said in a nutshell, but he had paragraphs of why. But it turns out the British servicemen now are firing our missiles at Russia. There's any truth in that. They're supposed to be there training the Ukraine troops to fire these rockets.
Oh, they've been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
Ragz, is any chance can go out and come back in? Honestly, you sound terrible. It is. Just try going out and coming back in.
Go on, Ragz. Let me just answer this question that he mentioned about Sunak there, which is interesting. Sunak doesn't want to be a war leader. People have got to realise who Sunak is. Sunak is not British. He's Indian. He's got a British passport, but he's Indian. He's a Hindu. He's part of like a Hindu dynasty in the Punjab, which went to East Africa. And his grandfather trained the Mau Mau guerrillas against the British. His family had been anti-British from the off, but they're very wealthy, the Indian billionaires, and they offered David Cameron a lot of money, and they also offered him the votes of the Hindu population in this country. They mobilized just like the Muslims for the Tories. So he was imposed on the Tory party. And the Tory party is just part of the international globalist Zionist racket. I mean, the Tory party is over. The party of Mrs. Thatcher is long gone. The Tory party now are all placemen. None of them have got independent thinkers. None of them are patriots. They're there because they're careerists and they're lining their own pockets. The Tory party are part of the replacement agenda. They're pushing a great replacement as well. Our only hope is to break the Lib Lab con, break the coalition, break this stranglehold that this political class has on the British nation. We need to break the media. We have social media for this. We need to break the education system and the health system. Talk about the NHS. The NHS is just another vehicle for the WEF now to put their ideologies forward. All our institutions are being hollowed out. Our corporations and our industries are being hollowed out. Our schools and our universities are being hollowed out. They're not what they were. They're now there to serve the globalist elite, the World Economic Forum. We need a complete rebellion, and the only way we can do it is to mobilize a people's army. And the only way the people's army can have an impact is to vote reform at this election. Turn all your fire on Labour, forget about the Tories, their history, and hope against hope that we can overcome and we can win this election. John?
Well, as Paul says, it is important to vote. And, just vote for someone different. But I've said who to vote for me. The Independents, and there's a couple in Oldham. Raj Asmir's running in Royton West, Oldham, Royton and West. And Nick Buckley's running in Oldham, Saddleworth and East, alongside Paul Boots-Urrock. And these are like three tremendous candidates in Oldham. But the Workers' Party, Oldham Labour had 31 seats before the last election. Now they're down to 27, and that is because of the Workers' Party and Gaza and Israel. So it's putting us all it's putting all the independents and small parties in a better position. So, if you're in Manchester, if you're not going to vote Reform, vote for the Workers' Party. Just vote independent. Just vote opposite and I do believe, even though they might not be showing it on the news, that Gorgeous George is going to have a big impact on Labour votes. And he certainly is. And if we then have that, and then we then have Reform and people voting for Nigel Farage, we can only take down Labour, take Tories and Labour out in one swipe. Imagine the government with 5 parties vying for power and stuff like that. Everything's going to break down. The control on the councils and the counties is going to break down. Things will have to start changing and stuff like that. Police will have to start doing a better job and a real job. So it can only get better. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Ragz, let's have a word.
Oh, no, thanks for having me on, guys. Sorry about the computer situation tonight. I don't know what happened. It's just cracked itself. So
it's a lot better now, Ragz. It's a lot better now.
It is, but you're going to have to invest in a decent mic, I'm afraid. That's what one of your mates said on the stream.
This is actually not. I'm doing this from my phone, gentlemen. I'm not on the computer.
All right. Well, I'm in Northern Ireland in July. I know I'm meeting up with Jack. Am I meeting up with you as well, Ragz?
Well, maybe.
And so, we're going to meet up with 42. A lot going on in Ireland. I'm there for a wedding, and I'm there for 4 days. So I'm really going to get a taste of Belfast. My last day I'm going to spend with Jack London on the 13th before I go home in the evening. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Looking forward to the marches. I'll be doing a lot of streaming. And hopefully I'll be talking to people and talking to them about the National Housing Party. That's what I want to do. So I'll be proudly carrying our flag, guys. Good evening, Rory. Good evening. No worries. God bless Rory. He's just had grandkids, twin grandkids. All the best, Rory. Hope everything's all right for him. We love family. We love family in the NHP UK. If it weren't for my family, I won't be able to look after my mum as well. And we're good support and all that lot. But we love family, Rory. I hope you're well, sir. Don't forget 3rd and 4th of August, Family Day at the PTSD camp. I'll be there that weekend. I'm bringing down our Shania, my grandniece, who's a veteran of several big demos in London. But yeah, thank you everyone in the chat. Thank you to Ragz tonight. Jack couldn't make it; he's got something coming up. But I'll be back on with Ragz and Jackz after the election. But we'll let you know when it comes on, and hopefully we'll have Paul and Pat on as well. But we'll see them. But thank you. Sorry for the 3-week break. I've been a bit busy, as I said, and stuff. But thank you to our mighty guest, Paul Rimmer there, carrying on the chat. We have to get Paul debating some top dudes, I think. And I'm going to get Pat in to start sorting it out, and we'll get some debates going. But thank you to Ragz. Sorry, Jax couldn't make it. Sorry, Pat couldn't make it. He's busy. But God bless everyone. And you know what? We'll see you next week.
Good night, folks.
Good night, folks.